148 ngizocela umfundisi ukhathi asivulele sihlabelele inkosi usephamukela. Amen.
Sisandinda wasimisa sabashia
Amen. Lolu suku noma leli sabatha sikhumbula ngalo inkosi yethu Inyangayezulu.
And this day is a day when we remember and commemorate our former leader, His Holiness A.K. Shembe III.
Washiya emhlabeni mhla 25 September 1995.
He passed away on the 25th of September in 1995.
Sikhulumile ke kakhulu ngaye ekseni.
We have spoke a lot about him this morning,
Angisele ukuphinda ke manje.
and I will not repeat that today.
Ngiyafisa futhi ukuba ngisho ngithi kungiphathe kabi ukwazi ukuthi umfundisi wami umfundisi uPhumalo naye usishiyile emhlabeni. Angazi noma bekumhla 24 noma nini kodwa mhlawumbe bekumhla 24.
I also wish to express my sadness about the passing away of Reverend Khumalo on the 24th of this month.
Umfundisi uPhumalo ngakhuliswa uyena ngisemncane emadadeni, ngathi noma sengibuyela sengiyosebenza khona ngaba ngaphansi kwakhe.
He was the one who was like a guardian to me when I lived at Ematateni, and when I went back there, I was under his guidance.
Wayengikhonzile kakhulu nami futhi ngimkhonzile kakhulu.
He was very fond of me, and I was fond of him likewise.
Noma bese sehlukele sengasekho ebuhleni kodwa ubesalokho engikhonzile.
Even though we had parted factions and I was no longer under the Church of Ebuhleni, but he was still fond of me.
Sengathi ke uNkulunkulu engamkhumbula.
May the Lord remember him.
Ngiyazi ukuthi lapha ekhona uhleli nempunga umfundisi uMadlala.
I know that wherever he is with the old man, Reverend Madlala.
Akakho umuntu owayekhonzwe umfundisi uPhumalo njengomfundisi uMadlala.
Reverend Khumalo was very fond of Reverend Madlala.
Wayehlela entshela ukuthi ukukholwa wakuthola kumfundisi uMadlala.
He'd always tell me that the person who taught him about this faith is Reverend Madlala.
Kanjalo nami umfundisi uPhumalo ngimkhonze kakhulu. Unginikeze uthando ngaze ngahlukana naye silokho singabantu abathandene ngendlela yesimangaliso.
Likewise, I was very fond of Reverend Khumalo, and he showed me a great sense of love, and it was reciprocated till this very day.
Kuyinto ebalekile ukuthi uma umuntu ekuphethe umthande naye futhi ekuthande ngoba sihlalele ukuthi siphatheke.
It is important that whenever you have a leader, you show love to that leader and they reciprocate that love, because whenever you are under a particular leader, you must be obedient to them.
Ngisuka kumfundisi uPhumalo ngaba kumfundisi uButhelezi Olundi.
After being under the guardians of Reverend Khumalo, I was under the guardians of Reverend Buthelezi at Ulund.
Naye umfundisi uButhelezi sasikhonzene kakhulu naye wazohamba emhlabeni.
We were also fond of each other until his passing away.
Futhi naye umfundisi uButhelezi waye ekhonzene kakhulu nomfundisi uPhumalo.
And Reverend Buthelezi was very fond of Reverend Khumalo.
Ngiyazi ukuthi manje bandawonye.
I know that wherever they are together.
Ngoba njengoba silapha njena siya emzini owodwa.
Because as we are gathered here, we are destined to one city, the city of Ikparame.
ngiyedlula ke lapho. Ngiyafisa ukuba ngikhulume ukuthi kubalekile ukuthi uma uphethe umsebenzi kaNkulunkulu noma uma uyikholwa ube umuntu othembekile kuNkulunkulu kunakuyo yonke into.
I wish to register that if you are a leader and you have been entitled to do God's work, it is important that you are trustworthy and faithful to God above everything else.
Ungasuki entweni oyifundiswe uNkulunkulu noma abantu ngabe sebecabanga.
Do not forsake what you have been taught by God despite what people think.
Esikhathini esiphambili ngoba ngejwayela ukufunda iBhayibheli ngathatha izifundo zeBhayibheli eUnisa.
A long time ago, as I was a person who was fond of reading the Bible, I took on some modules, or theological modules at UNISA.
Ngicabanga ukuthi lezi zifundo zizongisiza.
Thinking that these modules would somehow assist me.
Kodwa ngithema ngiyithola ngayithola zikhuluma enye into ephambene neBhayibheli.
But as I went on studying those modules, I found that they teach things that are against the Bible that I read today.
Lento yangiphatha kabi kakhulu.
I was disheartened by that.
Kodwa okwenzekayo ukuthi kwathi uma ngabe sefanele ngibhale i-exam i-exam yaba ngalama modules engiphikisana nawo.
And when I was due for an exam, the exam was set pertaining the modules that I had an argument or disputed against. Ngafunda
lama questions asosela kulama modules. Ngathula ngacabanga ukuthi ufanele ukuthi ngibhale lento engitshelwa yilomlungu ukuze ngiphase noma ngimele iqiniso.
I perused the exam questions which were based on these modules, and I questioned whether I should write something that corresponds with what I've been taught by this module, or should I stand for the truth and write what is against what I've been taught in this module.
Decide ku-exam ngathi angeke ngishintshe lento engiyibuzwayo iphambene noma ngathi ngiyayiphasa kodwa ayilona iqiniso.
I decided in the very exam venue that I will be steadfast in the truth, because what I know and understand and what this module has taught me is against the truth.
Esikhundleni sokuba ngiphendule ngavele ngalukhuza ngavele ngabhala i-essay kulo examination.
Instead of answering the set questions, I went on to write an essay.
Ngamtshela lo lecturer ngathi lento othi angiyiphendula yilona iqiniso.
And I argued to this lecturer that what you are saying I must answer is not the truth.
Ngase ngimchazele ukuthi lento ihamba kanje ngoba phela leli iBhayibheli liphambi kwami nami ngiyalifunda.
And I explained what was the truth that was set before me because I had read the Bible.
Ngendlela engabhala ngayo ngoba ngangibhala futhi ngicasukile. Ngicabanga ukuthi mhlawumbe ngiyoxoshwa e-university ngaphinde kuthiwa ngibhalise kuyona.
I assumed that I would be expelled from the institution because when I wrote that essay I was very angry.
But to my surprise, kwabuya iphepha langinikeza 89 or 86, I can't remember.
But to my surprise, when the exam results came back, I had gotten an 86 or an 89%. I'm not very sure.
Yathi le lecturer noma ungiphikisile kuyo yonke lento kodwa ukhuluma iqiniso.
And this lecturer said, despite arguing against everything I had taught you, but what you are saying is the truth.
Kodwa angibange ngisabuye ngiqhubeke nalezi ifundo zeBhayibheli.
But I did not go back to resume my studies.
Ngoba ngabona ukuthi ukuqhubeka ne-biblical study ngicitha isikhathi sami.
As I had seen that it would be a waste of my time.
Manje ke ngiyabona ukuthi uma sifuna ukuthi sibe neqiniso ngenkolo yethu kufanele ama-college esinawo efundise ngeqiniso mase kuze enkolweni.
Now I realize that if we are to be truthful about our faith, we have got to have colleges that teach the truth when it comes to religion.
Imfundo noma isifundo kufanele si-approach iBhayibheli objectively.
And any education system should have an objective approach to the Bible.
Hayi ukuthi ithathe isayidi lenkolo ethize bese ithi ukufunda iBhayibheli lokho.
It must not be subjective and then have the argument that is the study of the Bible.
Kujwayelekile ke lokho kumakholwa ngoba ngathi mangiyifunda lento ngabona ukuthi lamanothi akhiwe ngendlela ukuthi elandele ibandla elithize elaliphikisa elinye ibandla kodwa kuwo amaKristu.
It is something that is common amongst believers. As I read that, as I went through those notes, I found that they were crafted in such a way that they are in respect to one religion, but in disputing another Christian faction.
Abangafanele kwenziwe kanjalo ngoba iBhayibheli lifundwa yibo bonke abantu. Kufanele into liyibuke njengoba ibhalwe eBhayibhelini hayi ngokwesonto elithize.
And it was not supposed to be in that fashion, because the Bible is read by all factions, so it should accommodate everybody. And when you set exams or studies, it should be in relationship to that.
Into enjalo ke iyajwayelekile ukwenzeka ngoba uke uzwe abantu bethi hayi ezulwini kukhona uJesu yedwa. Abantu abakavuki ezulwini.
Such an occurrence is common, as you sometimes hear people saying that the only person who is in heaven is Yeshua, but people are not yet allowed to go to heaven.
Labo bantu ba-expressa inkolo yebandla labo hayi ukuthi ba-expressa into eseBhayibhelini.
Those people are expressing something that is a belief within their church, but not something that is in the Bible.
Omunye wake washo kanjalo ke wathi ezulwini kukhona uJesu yedwa uyena savukile abanye abantu basazovuka.
One person narrated that to me and said that the only person who has risen and went to heaven is Yeshua, but other people are yet to rise from the dead.
Ngase ngifundela incwadi kaMathewu 27 verse 52 kuya 53.
I then read the book of Matthew 27
verse 52 kuya 53.
Verse 52 to 53.
Lapha kuthi amathuna avuleka imizimba eminingi yabangcwele abaleleyo yavuka baphuma emathuneni emva kokuvuka kwakhe bangena emzini wengcwele babonakala kwabaningi.
And the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people.
IBhayibheli lapha lisho ngokusobala ukuthi abantu bavuka ngenkathi kuvuka uJesu babonakala beya ezulwini.
The Bible clearly states or puts it that many people rose from the dead when Yeshua rose, and they were seen going into heaven.
Kodwa manje na amasonto afundiswe amanye amasonto afundiswe ukuthi ezulwini akukho umuntu osezulwini uJesu kuphela. Yize iBhayibheli lisho ngesikhathi bavuka kaJesu ukuthi abantu bavuka.
But some people or some churches have a teaching that no other person has risen and went to heaven, despite the Bible clearly stating that when Jesus had risen, other people also rose and went to heaven.
Lesi sihlabelelo ekade sihlabelelo usho njalo umprofeti.
The hymn that we sang says that.
Verse 4 uthi sihlawulelwe siyakholwa obaba bethu bafa endulo avulekile amathuna abo makabongwe uJehova.
It says that we have been paid for and we believe our forefathers have risen from the dead. Give thanks to God.
Umprofeti Isashembe ubeka ngusobala ukuthi lamathuna avuleka kwakungamathuna obabamkhulu okhokho bethu.
The prophet Isaiah Shembe, peace be upon him, puts it clearly that the graves or the tombs which were open were those of our forefathers.
Uthi-ke uShembe bamenyeziwe emathuneni sebephumile sibabonile bangenile emzini wengcwele.
The prophet says that they have been called out from the graves and we have seen them rise. They have entered the holy city. Give praise to God, to Yahweh.
uShembe ugcizelela uMathewu 27 verse 52 to 53.
Prophet Isaiah Shembe is emphasizing what is written in the book of Matthew 27 verses 52 to 53.
Manje na-ke ibaphi laba esekuthiwa manje na basazovuka ngoba sebavuka kusho iBhayibheli.
So who are they speaking about when they say that there are people who are yet to rise, yet they have already risen, and that is stated by the Bible or in the Bible?
uNkulunkulu kuHosea 3 verse 6 uthi abantu bami babhujiswa ukweswela ukwazi.
In the book of Hosea 3,
ngokuba ukulahlile ukwazi nami ngiyakukulahla wena.
for you have forsaken knowledge, I also shall forsake you.
Le ncwadi ibalekile kithi thina abantu abamnyama noma ngabe amaKristu noma abanazaretha ukuthi ukuswela kwethu ulwazi ngendaba kaNkulunkulu kugcina kusenze silahlwe singakwazi ukuba sembusweni wezulu.
This book is important to us as African people, whether that be you are Christian or you belong under the Nazarite faith. That forsaking knowledge also makes God to forsake us.
Ikhona ke lokhu ngiphindelela ekuthenini siwazi umlando wethu ukuze singaba abantu abathi bakholiwe kanti okuseqinisweni sihlasela uNkulunkulu.
That is why I keep emphasizing that we must be a people who understand our history, so that we may not say that we are believers yet we are attacking God.
Ngifisa ukuthi ngigcizelele endabeni kaYeshua ngoba kunabantu abaningi abangayiqondi indaba kaYeshua in particular.
I want to emphasize the issue of Yeshua because there are many people who do not understand or comprehend it.
Abanye noma sebeyitholile indaba kaYeshua kodwa ngoba sebe brainwash ngendlela ukuthi bebone ukuthi uma besuka kulamanga abawakhelwe abelungu ukhona abazokulahlekelwa babezame sengathi abezo.
Although some understand the issue of Yeshua when it is clarified, they have been brainwashed to an extent that they know that they will be in loss if they admit to it, and so they always pretend as if they do not understand it.
Ngiyafisa ukuba abantu bekwazi ukuthi uYeshua kwakuumuntu omnyama.
I wish people to know, and I'm registering that Yeshua was a black person.
Angisho ukuthi wayemzulu, angisho ukuthi wayini, kodwa wayeumuntu omnyama.
I'm not speaking about his ethnicity, but I'm saying that he was a black person.
Ukuthi uYeshua wayeumuntu omnyama sikufundiswa yiBhayibheli.
It is the Bible that teaches us that he was a black person.
Hayi nokuthi inkulumo engaphandle kweBhayibheli sikufundiswa yiBhayibheli.
It is not something that is out of the Bible, but it is in the Bible.
Angizokhuluma ngezinto eziningi kusukela koMose kusukela kuya nakolokhuza nakoSolomoni. Ngikhuluma nje ngoJesu ukuthi uJesu kwakuumuntu omnyama sikufundiswe yiBhayibheli.
I'm not going to speak about Prophet Moshe and up to Solomon, but I'm going to focus strictly on Yeshua, and that the fact that he was a black person is taught to us by the Bible.
uJesu wayenguHebheru, kodwa ngesikhathi sakhe babengasabizwa ukuthi amaHebheru ngoba bake babizwa kuthiwa ama-Israyeli, kodwa base bebizwa kuthiwa amaJuda.
Yeshua is a Hebrew, but in his time or era they were not referred as so, but they were known as Judeans.
Ukuthi bangamaJuda kwakusukela ekuthenini uJesu wayenzalo kaJuda owayindodana kaIsrael.
The concept of Judeans is derived from that Yeshua was from the house of Judah.
Kodwa iBhayibheli, iNew Testament, isitshela ukuthi omunye wabafundi bakaJesu uSimiyoni wayemnyama kakhulu ezebizwe ngokuthi uyinigro.
Amongst the Bible says that amongst the disciples of Yeshua, one of them, who is namely Simeon, was black to the extent that he was known as a Negro.
Igama elithi negro igama lesiLatin elisho ukuthi black.
The name Negro has its etymology from Latin, which means black.
uJesu siyamazi ukuthi bonke abafundi bakhe babe ngamaJuda.
We know that all the disciples of Yeshua were Judeans.
And akukwazi ukuthi umuntu omhlophe ebe nomuntu omnyama. Lokho ku-impossible.
And it would be impossible to say that a white person was
Akudingi ukuthi kuze siye mhlawumbe koMose nani. It's conclusive. The evidence is conclusive. Ayikwazi ukushintsha.
there is no need for us to backtrack to the time of Moshe, because the evidence that has been brought before us is conclusive and it cannot change.
Okunye okutholayo ukuthi amaHebheru noma amaJuda ayengabantu abamnyama ukuthi uma ufunda incwadi lezi ezibhalwe ngabelungu, uma zichaza amaJuda zithi kwakuyi-primitive nation.
When you read the books that were written by the white people, they referred to Judeans as a primitive nation, and that is one of the evidences that lead us to the conclusion that the Judeans were a black people.
And ama-Romans kwakuyi-civilized nation.
And the Romans are namely a civilized nation in their literature.
Awukwazi-ke ukuthi umlungu ukuthi uyi-primitive nation.
And they could have never said or referred to themselves as a white people as primitive nations.
okunye engifisa ukuba nikwazi ukuthi uJesu engowesizwe samaJuda engowenkolo iJudaism.
I also wish you to know that Yeshua was from the nation of Judeans, and his religion was Judaism.
Njengoba uJesu inkolo yakhe kwakuyiJudaism, wayene sect ngaphansi kweJudaism ebizwa kuthiwa ibandla lamaNazaretha.
As he was under the religion belief system of Judaism, he belonged to a sect that was known as the Nazarenes.
Noma iNew Testament ingakubeki kahle lokho, kodwa uma ufunda izenzo 24 verse 5 lapha zichaza khona ngoPaul, kuyatshengisa ukuthi njengoba uPaul wayeyilida yamaNazaretha, wayeyilida yamaNazaretha ngoba umholi wakhe kwakunguJesu wayeyilida yamaNazaretha.
Although that is not put clearly in the New Testament, but if you go to read the book of Acts 24, where it says that Paul was a ringleader of the Nazarite sect, you can then reach the conclusion that Yeshua must have been also a leader of the Nazarites, since Paul had taken over after Yeshua.
uJesu esaphila wafundisa abafundi bakhe ukuthi ivangeli lakhe lishunyayelwe kuma-Israelites kuphela.
When Yeshua was teaching his disciples, he said that they must proclaim the gospel that he had taught them strictly amongst the children of Israel.
Kodwa emva kokuba ebulewe ngamaJuda wavuka kwabafileyo, wafundisa ukuthi ivangeli lakhe kuMathewu 28 lifundiswe emhlabeni wonke, lifundiswe nama-Gentiles.
After he had been murdered or persecuted by the Judeans, and he then rose from the dead and came back and instructed his disciples that they must go out and proclaim the gospel in which he had taught them to both Israelites and Gentiles.
Ngamanye amazwi, ngenkathi uYeshua esevukile, wathuma abafundi bakhe ukuthi beyoshumayela iJudaism kuma-Gentiles.
In other words, when he had risen from the dead, he instructed his disciples that they must go out and preach Judaism to the Gentiles.
Ngenkathi abafundi bakaYeshua bephuma beyoshumayela, bahamba bayoshumayela kuma-Gentiles iJudaism bethunywe uYeshua.
When the disciples of Yeshua went out to preach, they proclaimed Judaism as a faith to the Gentiles as per the instructions of Yeshua.
Nempela bathi mabeyoshumayela iJudaism, afike ama-Gentiles ayemukela lenkolo.
And indeed, when they went out to preach Judaism, the Gentiles accepted the faith.
Kodwa okwathi makuphakathi bashintsha, base bayayichitha iJudaism, sebakha inkolo yabo abayibiza ngokuthi iChristianity.
In the midst of it all, they accepted Judaism and later on disputed the faith and created a new religion which they called Christianity.
Kodwa ngenkathi abafundi bakaYeshua beyoshumayela, yayingekho iChristianity.
But when the disciples of Yeshua had went out to preach, Christianity did not exist.
Lalikhona igama lokuthi ama-Christian elaliyinhlamba njengoba ngeke ngachaza ngesonto eledlule.
The word Christians had already existed, but it was an insult, as I had explained before.
Kodwa ama-Gentiles ese-adopta leli gama eliyinhlamba sebelenza liba yinkolo. Sebechitha leli ebelifika namaJuda lamaNazaretha.
When the Gentiles had accepted this faith, they then turned this name, which was an insult, into a religion, and then they forsook the one which was introduced by the Judeans, which was known as the Nazarite faith.
Ubani owaqamba noma owasungula iChristianity?
The question is, who is the founder of Christianity?
Umuntu owasungula iChristianity uConstantine, umbuso wamaRoma, waqanjwa emkhandlwini wamaRoma.
Christianity was founded by Constantine the Great and the Roman Empire. It was a council came together and decided to create Christianity.
Akakho umprofeti owake wathunywa uNkulunkulu ukuthi ezosungula iChristianity.
There has never been a prophet who was sent by God to create this religion or to be a founder of the Christian faith.
Uma ekhona umprofeti owasungula iChristianity, agesho amaKristu ukuthi ubani lo mprofeti.
If ever there has been a prophet who was a founder of the faith, then the Christians must come out and tell us who that prophet is, who the name is.
Siyazi ukuthi iJudaism inkolo okwehla khona uNkulunkulu ezulwini wafike wayisungula entabeni yaseSinai.
We know that Judaism is a religion or a faith that came with God when He descended upon Mount Sinai.
Siyazi ukuthi uYeshua waze wafa wabuya wavuka wathuma abafundi bakhe ingekho iChristianity.
We are also aware that Yeshua lived, passed away, and rose from the dead, and in all those times Christianity as a religion did not exist.
Pho ubani owachitha iJudaism okuyinkolo kaJehova eyayishunyelwa uJesu wase replacer the Christianity?
So who is it that destroyed Judaism, which was the faith which was taught by God, and replaced it with Christianity?
The answer is Constantine the Great.
The answer is Constantine the Great.
Ikhona abanye ababhali bethi iChristianity fanele ngabe kuthiwa ilokuzwa iConstantine religion.
That is why some writers say that Christianity should be named as the Constantine religion.
Kodwa abantu abamnyama, because abayifundisile ukulandela into yabo, abayazi leyo nto.
But black people have not taught themselves to follow the history of what is theirs, and that is why they are not aware of all of this.
Bahamba beye ema-university beyofunda ama-theology, bebe ama-masters of theologians, bebe ama-doctors of theology. Kodwa bengakwazi ukuresearcha ngale nkolo yabo, bese bezo-researcha ngey'nkolo zabantu abamnyama, bese bethola ama-doctorate ngazo. Kodwa bengayazi le abapha akuyona ukuthi imi kanjani.
That is why they go to tertiary institutions and attain masters and PhDs in theology, but fail to research their own religion, but go about researching other people's religion, and yet have no understanding of what is the situation of their faith.
Kwenzeka kanjani ukuthi igama elithi uYeshua lingababikho eBhayibhelini? ligcine abantu bengalazi inhlobo.
How is,
Negama elithi Jehova lingababikho kwi-New Testament.
how is it that the name Yeshua and Yahweh are not found in the New Testament such that people do not have any knowledge about those names?
Igama elithi Jehova silazi ngoba livela kwi-Old Testament. Kodwa ukube nalo lalingekho kwi-Old Testament, ngabe kasazi lutho ngegama elithi Jehova ngoba lakhishwa kwi-New Testament.
The only reason why we still know about the name Yahweh is because it is still in the Old Testament. Had it not been for that, we would not know his name because it was taken out from the New Testament.
Kodwa kwenzeka kanjani ukuthi leli gama elithi Yeshua abantu bengalazi ngoba njengoba sikhuluma ngoYeshua nje abantu abamnyama bazi ukuthi sikhuluma ngani ngoYeshua bacabanga ukuthi igama elakhiwe yithina.
So how is it that black people do not know the name Yeshua such that they think that this name was just created by us?
Abazi ukuthi igama elithi Yeshua igama imibhalo yamaHebheru ayiqukethe lona.
They do not know that in the Hebrewic writings that is the name that was contained, the name Yeshua.
Abazi ukuthi igama elithi Jehova imibhalo yamaHebheru yayiqukethe lona.
They do not know that in the Hebrewic writings the name Yahweh is the name that was contained.
Kodwa ama-Romans akanawo umbhalo kaNkulunkulu.
But the Romans have no divine writing that belongs to God Yahweh.
Ngisho i-New Testament ayinawo imibhalo yama-Romans.
Even the New Testament has no writings that are from the Romans.
Uma ukhipha imibhalo yamaJuda, ama-Romans asala engenayo incwadi engcwele.
If you were to exclude the writings or the books of the Jews, then the Romans have no holy book that they can use as a point of reference.
Pho kwenzeka kanjani ukuthi bese kuqhamuka i-New Testament bese kuba incwadi yamaRoma kodwa le ncwadi ingazange yabhalwa amaRoma?
So how is it that the New Testament ended up being a book that belongs to the Romans, yet it was not written by the Romans?
Ngiwumbhali wencwadi ngimbhale namafilimu. Uma umbhali kulula kabi ukuthi umbhalo wakho untshontshwe bese kukhishwa igama lakho bese lo mbhalo uqhamuka usungwa umuntu.
I am a person who writes books and produces films, and I know that it is easy for your work to be stolen and given to other people.
Lokho kuntshontsha kubizwa kuthiwa yi-plagiarism.
That type of stealing is known as plagiarism.
I-dictionary ithi to plagiarize is to take someone's work, ideas or words and use them as if they were your own.
I-dictionary ithi ukuplagiarize ukuthatha imicabango nomsebenzi wabantu ebese ukusebenzisa njengokwakho.
Ilokho-ke ama-Romans akwenza, athatha umbhalo wamaRoma awenza owawo, ayise lo obhalile okuYeshua balikhipha igama lakhe kuwo.
That is what the Romans did. They took on the work of Yeshua, the sayings and writings of Yeshua, and proclaimed it as theirs, and stole it from the Judeans.
Kwasekuthi igama likaYeshua selitshengiwe kwase kufakwa igama likaJesu noma likaJesus elalisuka engqondweni zabo.
And when they had excluded Yeshua's name, they then created a name, Jesus, which came from them, and they attributed the writings to Jesus.
Lo Jesu owengekho nhlobo bamsusa engqondweni.
This Jesus who was non-existent.
Base bethatha image yomfana wamaRoma noma amaNtaliyane sebemenza uJesu onjengabo.
And they took an image of a lad who was an Italian, and then said that is Jesus.
So at the end umbhalo wamaJuda waba umbhalo wamaRoma.
So at the end, the writings of the Judeans was attributed or belonged to the Romans.
Kwasekuthi uYeshua owayethunywe uNkulunkulu esechithwa sekuqhamuka uJesu osekuyena osevele ezulwini kodwa besho into engekho.
And the person was sent by Yahweh, which is Yeshua, was then excluded, and then they included Jesus, who was non-existent and was not sent by God.
Kwasekuthi lo mbhalo kaYeshua usu-edithwa ukuze uhambelane nenkolo yabo.
Then they edited the writings of Yeshua so that it could comply to their own religion.
Uma ungase ubuze umuntu ongumKristu ukuthi uYeshua yini owachitha inkolo yakhe wase ethatha inkolo yamaRoma, akakho ongakwazi ukuphendula.
And if you were to ask the Christians that, is it Yeshua who destroyed his religion and went on to take on the religion of the Romans, they would not be able to answer.
Uma uhlakaniphile wena ekhanda, uJesu wayengathi engumJuda ethi engafa ebese elahla inkolo yakhe yobuJuda bese yothatha inkolo yamaRoma ebese echitha isabatha ebese ethi abantu abadla ingulube.
If you are a sane-minded person, do you think that Yeshua would have lived as a Judean, and then after being raised from the grave, he would then take on the religion of the Romans and speak against the Shabbat and tell people that they should actually consume pork?
Last week nginifundele ama-creeds amaRoma. Lama-creeds amaRoma athi inkolo yamaJuda kufanele ichithwe yonke, even izintshumayelo zonke nje into eyinkolo nje yamaJuda kufanele ukwazi ukuthi inkoloze. uJesu wayesho njalo.
Last week I read the Roman creeds for you, which says that the Judean religion should be taken no regard of. That includes the way they prayed and their festivals. Do you think, as a sane-minded person, that Yeshua said those things?
uJesu owathi ubuKristu kufanele ukuthi kulandele amasiko amaRoma.
Is it Yeshua who said that Christianity must follow the customs of the Romans?
And kulahlwe ama-customs amaJuda.
And then and forsake the customs of the Judeans?
Inkolo yamaRoma okuyi-Christianity nenkolo yamaJuda okuyi-Judaism inkolo enonkulunkulu ababili.
The Christianity as a religion and Judaism as a religion of the Judeans, those religions are two different religions who have two different gods.
Inkolo iJudaism inonkulunkulu oJehova.
Judaism as a religion has a God who is known as Yahweh.
Inkolo yamaRoma okuyiChristianity uNkulunkulu wabo uNkulunkulu waseBhabhiloni.
The Christian religion has a God that is the God of the Babylonians.
Okusho ukuthi uJesu wathi ngafa uthe mayesezulwini wayesemhlubuka uJehova wayesoba ulokhuza indodana kaNkulunkulu waseBhabhiloni.
So they mean by that Yeshua, when Yeshua had ascended to heaven, he forsook God and then became the God of the Babylonians, who is Tammuz.
Yangenzeka kanjani into enjalo?
How could such a thing have happened?
Abantu abangamaKristu abamnyama bayikhonsayela kanjani leyo nto? Bayikhonsayela kanjani leyo?
How do black people who are Christians explain that?
Bakwazi kanjani ukuhlanganisa inkolo yaseBhabhiloni nenkolo kaJehova bese benza inkolo yaseBhabhiloni i-overrule inkolo kaJehova? Umuntu osile ekhanda ongumKristu umuntu omnyama into enjalo yenzeka kanjani?
How do black people take the religion of the Romans, Christianity, which has its roots in the belief systems of the Babylonians, and compare it to that of the Judeans, and then the Christian religion overrules the belief system of the Judeans? If you are sane in your mind, how do you explain that?
Kodwa kunjalo.
But that is how things are.
Abantu abamnyama bayafunda bebe odokotela bethi bafundele ilokhuza inkolo. Kodwa bengakwazi ukubona ukuthi lento abayilandelayo ayikho. Ibenza yini?
Black people attain qualifications to the level of becoming PhD or doctors in theology, yet they cannot understand or follow that what they are actually studying is just making fools of them.
Bathi bengabasema university bebuye bezokwenza research ngenkolo yabantu abamnyama. Kodwa bengayiboni lenkolo yabo ukuthi iyabheda.
And then when they go to institutions, they attain qualifications and come back and do research about the belief systems of the black people, not understanding that what they are believing in is foolishness.
Yini eyenza ngempela ukuthi lenkolo idide kanje?
What is it that confused this religion?
Abelungu badala lenkolo lena into abayenza is to plagiarize inkolo noma imibhalo yamaJuda.
White people are cunning and witty, so what they did is that they plagiarized from the religion of the Jews and made it their own.
Into abayenza ukuthi mase beyiplagiarizile base beyi-edita isifitha ilokhuza yabo.
And when they had plagiarized it, they edited it such that it is conducive to their own belief systems.
Incwadi zenziwa kanjalo.
That is how books are written.
Namafilimu enziwa kanjalo.
That is how movies and films are produced.
Umuntu uyasithatha iscript sami ekhiphe igama lami ekhiphe yonke into bese siqhamuka singesakhe.
A person can take a script that I had crafted and remove my name and plagiarize it and make it their own.
Bese si-edita esipha igama laso.
And edited such that they give it a title that is theirs.
Benza kanjalo bathatha imibhalo yamalokhuza amaJuda ngoba basebehlulile. Basebewa-edita basebethi le nkulumo lena ekaJesu uJesu wafa wavuka yonke into ebhalwe ama-Nazarenes lashintsha igama kwangabe sasho ukuthi i-gospel of the Nazarenes.
That is what they did. They took on the writings of the Judeans and made it their own, and then they did not come out to speak the truth, and which was that this is the gospel of the Nazarenes.
uMathewu incwadi gospel of the Nazarenes.
The book of Matthew is a book that is in the gospel of the Nazarenes.
Kodwa uJerome wayithatha le ncwadi wayiqamba elinye igama wathi uMathewu wayese-editha eseyenza ifithe inkolo yamaRoma.
But Jerome took this book and edited it such that it fits or is conducive to their own belief systems.
So manje na uMathewu uqhamuka eseyincwadi ekhuluma ngoJesu.
So now the book of Matthew comes as a book that speaks about Jesus.
Kodwa ngenkathi le ncwadi ibhalwa ngamalokhuza ngamaJuda yayingakhulumi ngoJesu yayikhuluma ngoYeshua.
But when this book was written by the Judeans, it spoke not of Jesus, but it spoke about Yeshua.
Kodwa manje emayeseyikhishiwe uYeshua isikhuluma ngoJesu seyakhiwa uJesu sephenduka eba uNkulunkulu ngale ncwadi esiyi-edithiwe.
Now that Yeshua has been excluded and Jesus is what they put in, now Jesus comes as a God through this book.
Kodwa uYeshua wayengumprofeti kaJehova.
But Yeshua was a prophet of Yahweh.
uJesu seqhamuka sewuNkulunkulu usewuNkulunkulu wamalokhuza wama-Christians.
But now Jesus comes or is portrayed as a God of the Christians.
Uma ubuza umKristu ukuthi lo Jesu enikhuluma ngaye uphi? Bathi bakhuluma ngoJesu osemoyeni. Kodwa lo Jesu osemoyeni nani muzwe ngobani?
And if you ask the Christians where is this Jesus that they speak about, they say that he is in spirit. And when you ask him, who did you hear about this from? They cannot answer that.
Ngoba igama elithi uJesu igama elavela kuNkulunkulu wamaBabylons.
Because the name Jesus has its etymology from the Babylonians, from the god of the Babylonians.
Igama elithi Jesu laqhamuka inkolo kaJehova esiyachithwa ichithwa ngama-Christians.
The name Jesus came after the faith or religion of God was destroyed by Christians.
And ngakho-ke uJesu akakwazi ukuba indodana kaJehova.
Resultantly, therefore, Jesus cannot be the son of Yahweh.
Ngoba igama elithi Jesus laqhamuka inkolo kaJehova okwa-Judaism isingasekho isinqotshiwe.
Because the name Jesus only appeared after the religion of faith of the Judeans had been destroyed.
Kodwa amaKristu akakwazi lokho.
But Christians are ignorant about that.
Uma bekhuluma ngoJesu bakhuluma ngento abangayazi.
When they speak about Jesus, they speak about something they do not know.
Kusekhona namanje abaphikayo ukuthi lobu buso bukaJesu esibonayo ubuso bomlungu oyintaliyane baphika.
There are still some who dispute the fact that the face that is portrayed or shown to us is an image of an Italian lad.
Abakwazi ukuthi inkolo lena kakalokhuza yoKristu yakhiwa uConstantine. They don't know that. Ukuthi wahlangana umhlangano umkhandlu wombuso wamaRoma wakha iChristianity. AmaKristu akakwazi lokho.
They are ignorant to the fact that Christianity as a religion was created by a council of the Romans, the Council of Nicaea, which was led by Constantine the Great.
Kodwa bavele bathatha nje into epressuriziwe bayithatha njengoba injalo. Never made any research ukuthi le nto esiyilandelayo imi kanjani.
but they took on something that had been plagiarized and followed it as if it was an original, but have never bothered themselves to research as to what is the situation of what we are following.
Umbuzo amaKristu engushiyana wilo.
The question that I leave with the Christians is,
uYeshua owafa engumJuda igama lakhe kunguYeshua waduma kanjani wabe eseyoba nguJesu ongumTaliyane eseba senkolweni yobuKristu?
how did it happen that Yeshua, who was a Judean, become Jesus, who was a God of the Christians?
Ake besichazele nge-transition ukuthi le transition yenzeka kanjani.
They must explain the process of the transition as to how did this transition roll out.
Ngaphela kufanele kuchazeke ngoba siyachaza sithi uJehova wehlela kuMose wamnikeza inkolo kwasekukhamba abaprofeti kwaze kwafika kuJesu. Manje ke ukuthi uJesu uyeshua le transition yokuthi egcine sewuJesu waduma kanjani, yahamba kanjani le transition?
Just as we are able to explain that our religion came with God and God gave that religion or the belief system to Moshe, and after Moshe it was taken by the prophets, and after that Yeshua. So they should do the same and explain how did the transition take place from Yeshua to Jesus.
Laphelelaphi igama likaJehova nelikaYeshua enkolweni yamaKristu? Laqedelwani? Laqedwa kanjani?
Why has the name Yahweh and Yeshua been excluded in the Christian religion, and how did that happen?
Kufanele ukuthi amaKristu ahlakaniphile ebuze lo mbuzo.
Christians who are saints should ask themselves that question. They should introspect themselves.
Ngoba uthi uNkulunkulu abantu bami bathi babhujiswa ubungazi.
Because God says that my people are destroyed because of the lack of knowledge.
Ngobungazi bagcina bengawugcini umthetho wami.
Because of ignorance they do not obey my laws.
Ngalokho uze uphumajume uthi ukholiwe kanti ujabulela ukuthi ulahla umthetho kaNkulunkulu.
By doing so you jump around thinking that you are a believer, but by that you are forsaking the law of God.
Uthi wena ukholiwe kodwa ukukholwa kwakho ukukholwa kokuchitha ukukholwa kaJehova, ukukholwa kwakho ukwemukela inkolo yaseBhabhiloni. Kodwa ngoba awazi awuboni.
You say that you are a believer, but your belief is to go against God and destroy the law of God, but because you are ignorant you cannot see.
Umbuzo wesibili. Imibhalo kaYeshua nabafundi bakhe eyayisenkolweni yamaJuda yaduma kanjani yayoba imibhalo enkolweni yobuKristu?
The second question is, how did the writings of Yeshua and his disciples become the writings of the Christians? How did that transition take place?
Kufanele phela besichazele ngoba siyazi ukuthi le mibhalo ngeyamaHebheru yaphenduka kanjani yaba imibhalo yamaKristu.
They must explain it to us because we know that these writings are of Hebrewic origin. So they must explain how then did those writings become part of the Christian faith.
Uma ngabe kusukela kuMatheyu kuze kufike kuIsambulo ibuya lembhalo iba ngeyamaHebheru ngoba vele ingeyamaHebheru. UbuKristu kusala nani?
If we were to take the book from Matthew to the book of Revelation and bring it back to the Hebrews, then what is it that Christianity has? Which books will belong under Christianity?
Akukho.
There are none.
Into okufanele uyenze ukuthi uthathe amakhathezimi amaRoma
what they are left with is the Roman writings,
angekho eBhayibhelini.
which are not in the Bible.
Kodwa ngoba imibhalo yamaHebheru yaplagiarizwa ngamaKristu, amaKristu asethi uJesu umholi wabo.
But because the Hebrewic writings were plagiarized by the Romans, they are now claiming that Yeshua is their leader.
Kodwa uYeshua into engekho, it doesn't exist.
But Jesus does not exist.
Lo mlungu lona abamenze waba isithombe lapha umlungu intaliyana akusona umHebheru akusona umJuda.
This white lad who they have put up is non-existent. He is not a Hebrew. He is not a Judean descendant.
Kuseyo yonke iplagiarism leyo.
All of that is plagiarism.
Okufanele ngaba abantu abamnyama lento bayayilandela ukuthi imi kanjani lento.
Which in fact black people should follow and research about and know how things are.
Kodwa hayi abantu abamnyama bafuna lutho. They are so brainwashed ngendlela ukuthi ayikho into abayicabangayo. Lento esebeyinikezwe abelungu ongenani bengenza research ngabo ukuba bethinta abelungu.
But they have been brainwashed to the extent that they think that what they have been taught by the whites is what is the truth. They would rather research about themselves rather than researching about this deceit.
Uma abantu abamnyama ubatshela ukuthi ake nibuke lento yenu bavele bebone umuntu nje noyiphekula olwa nobuKristu.
If you tell black people to clearly peruse this and research about it, they just label you as an antichrist.
Kodwa lento isobala noma imuphi umuntu ocabanga uyayibona lento ukuthi ayikho lento sidlala ezinye izizwe.
But any sane person can see that this is vanity. We are just being made fools by other nations.
Ake beqale phansi abantu abamnyama becabange kahle lento engiyikhulumile. Beze nempendulo hayi ukuthi lelwe nathi. Abeze nempendulo ukuthi imi kanjani lento manje.
Black people must answer to these questions. They should not fight against us, but I want them to explain how things are.
Nginamanga yini mangithi imibhalo yamaHebheru iplagiarizwe ngama-Romans ayisethi imibhalo kaJesu onga-exist.
Is it a fabrication when I say that the writings of the Hebrews was plagiarized by the Romans and they made it their own?
Nginamanga yini mangithi amaKristu akanaye umprofeti kodwa umprofeti wabo ngabe umprofeti uConstantine the Great.
Am I fabricating when I say that the Christians as a religion do not have a prophet that was sent by Yahweh, but their prophet, if ever he is a prophet, is Constantine the Great?
Nginamanga yini mangithi ubuKristu uNkulunkulu wabo uNkulunkulu waseBhabhiloni akuhlanganisene lutho noJehova kodwa lokhu kwenza ukuhlanganisa kungenxa ukuthi kune-plagiarism phakathi.
Am I fabricating when I say that the God of the Christian is a God of the Babylonians, but if ever there is an affiliation, it is due to the plagiarism that they have carried out?
Esikhundleni sokuba sixabane sithukane eke sidebate lento ukube ngiphambi kwabo bonke abantu bengizothi abantu ake bephakamise izandla abangiphikisayo bengichazele ukuthi bona i-understanding yabo ele Christianity imi kanjani.
Instead of insulting each other, let us debate this issue. If I was before a crowd of people, I would have said that let them raise their hands and give opinions and state facts as they know them from their side.
ngithena ekuseni singabaphathi bezwi likaNkulunkulu. Uma singabaphathi bezwi likaNkulunkulu angifuni ukuthi ngifundise into engizothi manifa nivele niyongena esigodini sosizi nithola ukuthi yonke lento beniyifundiswa in fact benilwa noNkulunkulu.
I said in the morning, I said that we are the custodians of the Word of God, and I, as a custodian of the Word of God, do not want to teach you falsehood that will take you to an abyss of fire.
Kufanele ukuthi uye esihogweni wazi.
You must go to hell knowingly.
Ungasho ukuthi hayi mina ngiyaqala ukuzwa lento mina emhlabeni angizange ngatshelwa lento.
And you must not hide behind saying that it is the first time that I am hearing of this. When I was on earth, I had no knowledge about this.
Ngiyantshela ke namhlanje ngithi ubuKristu inkolo kaConstantine ayihlanganisene nalutho noJehova.
I'm registering that to you today, that Christianity is the religion of Constantine and has no affiliation with Yahweh.
Ihlangene noNkulunkulu waseBhabhiloni.
It is affiliated with the God of the Babylonians.
UbuKristu abunawo umprofeti.
Christianity does not have a prophet that was sent by Yahweh.
Akakho umprofeti owakwehla wazokhuluma ngeChristianity. Kodwa ubuKristu baqhamuka wachitha inkolo kaJehova.
But there's never been a prophet who descended and taught about Christianity, but Christianity is the religion that destroyed God's faith.
Osi, 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 Senhor. Asibheke enkosini. Nkulunkulu mdali wezulu nomhlaba. Wena okhona emandulo. Wena owathuma incebo yakho uMose ukuthi ilethe leli vangeli lakho lapha emhlabeni. Emva kwaMose Nkosi wathuma abaprofeti bakho abaningi ukuthi Nkosi leli vangeli lakho bezolivuselela. Emva kwalokho Nkosi wathuma uYeshua incebo yakho ukuthi leli vangeli izolimisa. Kodwa emva kwakho kwaqhamuka abezizwe balichitha basebenzisa ivangeli labo sebethi leli vangeli labo ivangeli lakho kanti badlala ngesizwe sakho esimnyama. Ngicela ke Nkosi uba usiphe ukuhlakanipha kwasezulwini ubenze Nkosi abantu bakho bebone ukuthi bakhohliswa izizwe ezimhlophe. Leli vangeli Nkosi abathi likukholwa livangeli elilwa nawe. Wena waletha isabatha lakho lapha emhlabeni bona bafike balichitha. Wena wafika Nkosi wathi izingulube ayingadliwa bona bafike bathi ayidliwe. Wena Nkosi wathi abantu bakho bengawabhonda amakhanda bona bafike bathi akabhonde. Wena Nkosi wathi abantu ababhajadiswe emanzini bona bathi ababhajadiswe esimongo. Wena Nkosi wathi abantu bakho bengayenzi into ephambene neshongwela bona bafundisa ukuthi ayenziwe. Namhlanje Nkosi umhlaba ubhubhe egameni lenkolo. Ngicela Nkosi uba wehle umoya wakho Nkosi ube phakathi kwethu. Usiphe Nkosi ukuhlakanipha kwasezulwini. Usenze Nkosi sibone amaqiniso akho ngoba ekugcineni siza kuwe. Ekugcineni Nkosi sizokwehlulelwa nguwe. Cela Nkosi ukuthi usikhethe usenze Nkosi sibe yilabo Nkosi abakhethile. Siyazi Nkosi ukuthi sisandinda wasimisa sabashiya bephuza samlandela ukuphuma elihle. Makabonge uJehova. Cela Nkosi ukuba kube njalo namhlanje. Abasabanjiwe Nkosi indaba yabo loba babanjwe. Kodwa thina Nkosi osibizile sasabela. Sicela Nkosi ukuba abonge uJehova. Ngilapho Nkosi igama manje uliphathe. Amen.